there is a specific moment every gardener chasing that cottage garden look eventually reaches. Standing in front of a flimsy metal trellis from a big box store, wondering why it looks nothing like the beautifully woven wooden obelisks, covered in sweet peas and clematis, in every garden photo they have ever admired, and the honest answer is that those stunning structures are almost always hand-woven from nothing more than flexible young willow branches, and a material you can genuinely harvest for free and shape into something extraordinary in a single afternoon. A willow obelisk brings a warm, organic, genuinely handcrafted presence to a garden bed that manufactured metal or plastic trellising simply cannot replicate, and once you understand the weaving technique and how to care for whatever you plant to grow up it, this becomes one of the most rewarding structural projects available to a beginner gardener. Sourcing your willow is refreshingly straightforward once you know what to look for, and it costs nothing beyond your own time in most parts of the country. Look specifically for young, flexible willow whips, the long, straight, pencil-thin shoots that grow from the base, or previously cut stems of most willow species, since these bend readily without snapping in a way that thicker, more mature branches simply cannot. Many municipalities and rural properties have willow trees growing along ditches, creek banks, or wet low spots, specifically because willows thrive in consistently moist ground, and asking a property owner for permission to harvest a bundle of whips is frequently met with genuine enthusiasm, since most people are happy to have unwanted growth trimmed back, at no cost to themselves, harvesting in late winter or very early springs before leaves emerge. And while the whips are still fully dormant, gives you the most pliable material, and the longest working window before the wood begins drying out and stiffening. If sourcing your own willow proves difficult in your specific region, several specialty craft and garden suppliers sell bundles of dried or fresh-cut willow whips by mail order, specifically for this kind of structural weaving project. A pair of sturdy gardening gloves is worth wearing throughout the harvesting and weaving process. 2. Since willow bark can be surprisingly abrasive against bare hands during extended weaving sessions, and a few stray thorny brambles often grow tangled among wild willow stands in ditches and creek banks, building the obelisk itself follows a genuinely approachable pattern. Once you have your whips gathered, select 6 to 8 of your longest, thickest whips to serve as the main upright supports, pushing each one at least 8 to 10 inches into loosened garden soil in a circle, roughly 2 to 3 feet in diameter, then gathering the tops together and binding them securely with garden twine or wire to form the classic tapering obelisk silhouette. Using your remaining, thinner whips, weave horizontally in and out around the uprights, spiraling gradually upward much like basket weaving, tucking each new whip's ends behind an upright to secure it as you progress, rather than relying entirely on the natural friction of the weave. Spacing your horizontal weaving rows every 4 to 6 inches up the structure provides plenty of surface area for climbing plants to grip onto, while keeping the overall structure visually open, rather than solid and heavy looking. One genuinely interesting decision point worth considering before you begin is whether you want a dead structure, simply a decorative trellis that will slowly dry and eventually need replacing after several years, or a living willow structure, where you leave your uprights rooted in consistently moist soil, specifically, so they sprout leaves and continue growing as an actual living plant. Intertwined with whatever you train up it, a genuinely striking, ever-evolving garden feature that requires its own ongoing pruning to keep in the intended shape. Choosing the right climbing plants to grow up your finished obelisk matters enormously, since different climbers grip and ascend structures through entirely different mechanical strategies, and matching your plant's specific climbing habit to a willow obelisk's open, twiggy structure produces far better results than assuming any climber will simply figure it out on its own. Twining vines like morning glory, sweet peas, and pole beans wrap their entire stem around a support as they grow, and take to a willow obelisk's many horizontal weaving points naturally, often needing little to no manual training once they get started. clematis climbs using specialized leaf tendrils that grasp thin supports, making the twiggy, textured surface of woven willow genuinely ideal, compared to a smooth metal pole that offers nothing for those delicate tendrils to actually grip. Climbing roses, by contrast, do not climb through any true mechanical gripping mechanism at all, and instead, simply produce long, arching canes that need to be manually woven through and tied to your structure as they grow, making them a slightly higher maintenance but genuinely spectacular choice, but cheers for an experienced beginner willing to check in and tie new growth every couple of weeks. Through the growing season, light and temperature requirements for your obelisk display depend almost entirely on which climbing plant you have chosen, making this decision worth settling before you even finish building. Sweet peas and clematis generally perform best with a genuine 6 or more hours of direct sun, though clematis specifically appreciates having its actual root zone kept cool and shaded, often achieved by planting a low, shallow-rooted companion plant at its base to shade the soil, while the vine itself climbs upward into full sun, a classic and genuinely effective pairing technique experienced gardeners rely on. Morning glory and pole beans are more straightforwardly sun-hungry across their entire structure, and reliably want full, unobstructed sun for the majority of the day to flower and produce well. Temperature tolerance varies considerably by species too, and sweet peas specifically prefer the cooler temperatures of spring and early summer, often fading and declining once genuine summer heat arrives in warmer states, while morning glory and pole beans are considerably more heat tolerant and will happily continue climbing and blooming through the hottest weeks of an American summer. If you have opted for a living willow structure specifically, remember that the willow itself also has genuine light requirements of its own, generally wanting a similarly sunny position to leaf out and grow vigorously, rather than a shaded corner where it may survive but never develop the lush, layered look a thriving living structure is capable of. The research behind vertical gardening structures, like this one, reaches well beyond simple visual appeal. Horticultural research on vertical growing systems has consistently found that training climbing plants upward, rather than allowing them to sprawl across the ground, genuinely improves air circulation around foliage, meaningfully reducing fungal disease incidence in humid climates compared to the same species grown as a ground-sprawling plant, while also making harvesting considerably easier for edible climbers like pole beans. Plant physiology research on phototropism and thigmotropism, the specific growth responses that drive a vine's stem to bend toward light and its tendrils to curl around a physical support upon contact, has documented these responses occurring within hours of a tendril making contact with something to grip, a genuinely fast biological response that explains why a newly planted clematis or sweet pea often visibly grips a nearby willow whip within a day or two of being planted close enough to reach it. Beyond the plant science itself, environmental psychology research on vertical greenery in outdoor and even urban spaces has found that tall, columnar garden features draw the eye upward and create a stronger sense of enclosure and privacy within a garden bed compared to purely low, flat plantings, a documented effect on how comfortable and contained people report feeling within a given outdoor space, which is part of why a single well-placed obelisk so often becomes the visual anchor of an entire garden bed, rather than simply one feature among many. The effect of building and tending a project like this on your own well-being connects to research on craft-based hobbies and the specific psychological reward of watching a slow, unfolding process develop over an entire season. Unlike many single-session DIY projects, a willow obelisk genuinely rewards patience across months, from the initial weaving to the first tendrils, gripping the structure to the eventual full coverage of blooms, and research on delayed gratification hobbies has found this kind of extended, visibly progressing project correlates with sustained engagement and satisfaction that briefer, more immediately completed projects often cannot match, essentially giving you months of small, repeated positive reinforcement rather than a single moment of completion, followed by nothing further to anticipate. watering plants trained up your obelisk requires attention to both the climbing plant's own root zone and, if you have built a living structure, the willow's roots as well. Most annual climbers like sweet peas, morning glory, and pole beans want consistently moist soil, checked with the familiar finger test roughly 2 inches down, watering deeply whenever that depth feels dry rather than relying on frequent shallow sprinkles that only wet the surface and encourage shallow root development. Clematis specifically benefits from a slightly more generous watering routine than many other climbers. Since its preference for a cool, moist root zone means it dries out and shows stress noticeably faster than more drought-tolerant companions if watering becomes inconsistent during genuine summer heat. If you have built a living willow obelisk, remember that willow trees are naturally water-loving species that originated in consistently moist streamside habitats and a living structure planted in a genuinely dry garden bed. Without supplemental watering, during its first year or two of establishment, will likely struggle to root and leaf out as intended, so choosing a naturally damper corner of your yard or committing to regular watering specifically for the structure itself to separate from whatever climber you have planted at its base meaningfully improves your odds of a genuinely thriving living feature. Fertilizing and pruning both play genuinely important roles in keeping this project looking its best across an entire growing season. Feed whichever climbing plant you have chosen according to its own specific needs, a balanced, diluted, liquid fertilizer, every few weeks for heavy bloomers like sweet peas and clematis, while pole beans and other legumes generally need considerably less supplemental nitrogen, given their own natural ability to fix nitrogen from the air. Through root nodule bacteria, pruning applies on 2 genuinely different levels here, depending on your structure type. For your climbing plant itself, regular deadheading of spent sweet pea and clematis blooms encourages continued flowering rather than seed production, while climbing roses specifically need their new canes tied in and guided along the structure every couple of weeks to prevent an unruly tangled mass from developing. If you built a living willow structure, an entirely separate pruning task applies to the willow itself, since a rooted, actively growing willow will sprout vigorous new shoots throughout the season that need regular trimming back to maintain your original woven shape, rather than letting the entire structure explode into an uncontrolled thicket by midsummer. Even a well-planned willow obelisk runs into a handful of predictable issues, and knowing how to read them takes most of the guesswork out of your first attempt. Willow whips that rot or weaken at the soil line within their first year or two, a genuine concern for dead structures specifically, usually indicate the untreated wood simply reached the natural end of its lifespan in consistently moist soil, and this is largely an expected part of working with an organic material rather than a building mistake, with most dead willow obelisks lasting somewhere between 3 and 5 years before needing to be rebuilt. A climbing plant that seems reluctant to actually grip your structure, growing upward but flopping over rather than ascending, often just needs a bit of initial manual guidance, gently wrapping the first few inches of new growth around a nearby willow whip by hand, until the plant's own gripping mechanism takes over from there. A living willow structure that fails to ploschen Settelis fout to whips that were either harvested too late in the season, after they had already broken dormancy, or planted into soil that dried out during a critical early establishment window, and either issue is best addressed by trying again the following winter with properly dormant material, and a genuinely committed watering routine through that first spring. And if your finished structure simply looks sparse and underwhelming compared to the lush photos that inspired the project in the first place, remember that most climbing plants, much like the obelisk's own willow whips settling into their woven shape, genuinely need one full season to establish before delivering the dense, flower-covered coverage that took the original inspiration photo years, not weeks, to develop. Building a genuinely beautiful willow obelisk really comes down to respecting a short list of fundamentals. Harvest or source pliable, dormant willow whips weave your structure with a genuine mind toward the climbing habit of whatever plant you intend to grow. Match your chosen climber's light and water needs to your specific garden spot. Feed and prune according to that plant's own individual requirements and decide deliberately up front whether you want a temporary dead structure or an evolving living one. Handle those details with patience across a full season, and you will end up with the exact kind of organic, handcrafted garden centerpiece that no plastic trellis from a home improvement store could ever hope to replicate. If you love learning about seasonal flowering plants, vegetables, gardening tips, and nature care, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Nature Nurture Hub, your home for year-round garden inspiration. Let's keep growing together.